Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico, bring y'all a random Redskins report. Today, I just want to break down all of the contracts for all of the free agents that we've signed in this 2020 free agency period. I also want to give y'all a full breakdown of the salary cap, how much we have left, how much we'll have left after the draft. So I want to also explain like how much money players at the picks that we currently have normally make in their first year of their contract, and how it'll affect the 2020 salary cap. And yeah, man, I just want to let y'all know how much money the Redskins truly actually have. So let's get it. Alright, so first of all, our biggest signing of free agency is cornerback Kendall Fuller. He on average makes $10 million a year. He signed a 4-year, $40 million contract. $23.5 million of it is guaranteed, and $13.5 of that million was guaranteed at signing. And if Kendall Fuller is on the roster on the third day of the 2021 league year, his $10 million base salary will also be guaranteed. So that's something to monitor in 2021. If we want to still keep him going into 2021, the Redskins would definitely have to make a decision before that third day. If they don't want him for some weird reason, which I highly doubt, because I'm expecting him to do big things now that he's returning back for the Redskins, but if for some reason they don't want him, then they'll end up cutting him before that third day after the league year starts in mid-March. Also, this year, he's only a $4.125 million cap hit. But after 2020, his cap hits hit harder. He's $13 million next year, $11 million the year after that, and $11.6 million the year after that. Moving on, you also have Ronald Darby, whose contract details have yet to actually come out. I mean, everybody else we've signed, their full contract details are easily accessible on the internet. But Ronald Darby's just haven't been released yet. All we know is that it's a 1-year deal for $4 million. We don't exactly know how much is guaranteed, how much may be incentives, and all of that type of stuff. We don't even exactly know what the cap hit is. We're assuming it's going to be $4 million, but can't be 100% sure yet. And then you have Shawn Davis, the safety we brought over from Pittsburgh, assuming to be the free safety. Hope we bring in Demarius Randall to compete with him, but so far he's clearly our best bet at free safety on the current roster. He signed a 1-year deal for $4 million. $2 million is guaranteed. $500,000 is tied to game day active bonuses. And he is a $3.5 million cap hit this season. So he's on a 1-year prove-it deal. If he balls out, great. Then we'll re-sign him, give him big money. If he doesn't ball out, which would suck for us, but since he's only on a 1-year prove-it deal, we just simply don't re-sign him. We don't lose anything. There's no dick cap, no nothing. But hopefully he goes and balls out. He was a 2016 round 2 58th overall draft pick by the Steelers, and they were expecting big things out of him, but it never really worked out. He showed flashes, but we'll see how this goes in Washington. I mean, if anybody can get the best out of him with his elite athleticism, it's Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera. But we'll see. Great value deal if he ends up balling out. And he should at the very minimum be an upgrade over Monte Nicholson, especially like penalty-wise. Then you have super veteran linebacker Thomas Davis. He signed a 1-year contract worth up to $3.5 million. $1.75 million of it is guaranteed through the signing bonus. And then he can also earn up to $250,000 in roster bonuses. He'll make $15,625 for every game he's active in. And then he also has $250,000 in playtime incentives. And then, for what we care about, he will be a $3.75 million cap hit. And the most noteworthy thing about him is that he's 37 years old, so we can't expect him to play at an all-pro level like he did once upon a time in Carolina. But he did play pretty well for the Chargers last year at 36 years old, and I can't imagine 37 years old being that much of a drop-off. So we're expecting him not only to bring veteran leadership and to bring along that culture that Ron Rivera loves and the program that he wants to set up for Washington, but he should also be able to play pretty well on the field. And expect him to be one of the starting linebackers week 1 while the other younger guys catch up to everything and how Ron Rivera wants to run the team and how Jack Del Rio wants to run the defense. Expect them younger, higher potential guys to end up starting at some point, maybe during the season, but definitely I'm expecting Thomas Davis to start week 1 somewhere, either at Sam or Will more than likely. And then you also have Kevin Pierre-Lewis, who we brought over from the Bears. He signed a 1-year deal worth $3 million. Only $1.5 million of it is guaranteed. another 1 year prove it deal. Thomas Davis's isn't necessarily a 1 year prove it deal since he's up there in age. We're pretty much bringing him as an on-field coach, and if we get anything out of him on the field, great. Like I said, he played pretty well for the Chargers last year, so he should be able to do something. But Thomas Davis was not a 1 year prove it deal, see what you can do, and then we'll be ready to give you long-term big money after that 1 year deal is up if you earned it. Kevin Pierre-Lewis, along with Shawn Davis and Ronald Darby, who we just spoke about, are on those short-term prove it deals, and if they earn it, then they'll get big-time money afterwards. But for now, Kevin Pierre-Lewis is only a $2.978 million cap hit, and he's 29 years old. He's gotten better and better over the course of his career. He made his biggest jump last season with the Bears once they finally inserted him in the starting lineup, so I'm excited to see what he can do. He's also a very good athlete, a great combine tester, so we'll see what Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera can get out of him. But either way, he's on a very cheap deal, so if they can't get much out of him, then we don't lose much. If we would have cut him at some point during the season, he would be a $1.5 million dead cap hit, but I don't necessarily think we will. I feel like he will show us a little something in training camp, but we'll see. But it's a 1 year prove it deal, so they're going to give him this test run in 2020. If he doesn't work out, then in 2021, just let him go. Don't re-sign him, and there is no dead cap at all. Then you have tight end Logan Thomas, very athletic, was a quarterback in college, 6'6", 248-pound tight end. He's a little stiff, but he's very athletic. He's 28 years old, still young, somewhere in his prime. He signed a 2-year deal worth $6.145 million, and $2.25 million of those dollars were part of his signing bonus. So he's making somewhere a little over $3 million a year total. In 2020, he will be a $2.5 million cap hit. In 2021, he'll be a $3.6 million cap hit. So we'll see after the 2020 season if the Redskins find keeping him worth it. He's not on a 1 year prove it deal, but he's definitely on a 2 year prove it deal to see what we can get out of you. And if you play well through those first 2 years, they'll re-sign you to a big time contract. You can get that dream money you've been wanting. You just got to go out there and help fix this huge tight end problem, because it's definitely our biggest need right now. Tight end, and then left tackle if Trent Williams doesn't come back. But if we were to release him at some point this season, he would be a $2.25 dead cap hit, which I highly doubt we'll do because it's just not worth it. I mean, that's literally only $300,000 less than if we were to just keep him. So you might as well just keep him. We only saved $300,000 by cutting him. And then if we were to cut him in 2021, he would be a $1.125 million cap hit, which would save us like $2.5 million. So that might be worth it if he doesn't work out in 2020. But hopefully if he shows at least some potential, they might keep him for 2021 through his contract to give him another chance. We'll see though. Then you have Wes Schweitzer, who we brought over from the Falcons. 26-year-old guard, 6'5", 314 pounds, pretty big guy, pretty young. We signed him for a 3-year contract worth $13.5 million with $4 million guaranteed. He's making $4.5 million a year total on average. And in 2020, he's a $2.468 million cap hit. In 2021, he's a $5 million cap hit. And in 2022, he's a $6 million cap hit. And the way the contract is set up, in 2020, since his cap hit is only a little under $2.5 million, and his dead cap is $2.2 million, we would release him, we would only save less than $300,000. So we might as well keep him at least through 2020. But then in 2021 and 2022, he's only a $200,000 cap hit in 2021 and only a $100,000 cap hit in 2022. Plus, his salary more than doubles from 2020 to 2021. And then it goes up another $1 million in 2022. So if the Redskins were to cut him in 2021, they could save themselves $4.8 million in cap space. And in 2022, they can save $5.9 million if they were to choose to cut him then. So 2020 is really his year to prove it. Even though it's a 3-year deal, cutting him in 2021 and 2022 would basically be like almost no dead cap, really. So technically, even though he has a 3-year deal, he has to prove himself in 2020. He definitely has to. He has to at least look like a decent depth piece, a good backup or something. Because in 2021, there's no point in taking that $5 million cap hit when you can just go ahead and release him and only take $200,000 dead cap. Same for 2022. You will save even more money by cutting him in 2022. So we'll see. Hopefully he can go out there and show a little something. Otherwise, even though he's on a 3-year deal, he can easily be cut after 2020. So I know a lot of people were complaining about, why do we sign this guy for 3 years? Well, really, they can cut him after 2020 and only suffer $300,000 total worth of dead cap. $200,000 in 2021, and $100,000 in 2022, and get all the rest of the money back. Like if they were to cut him in 2021, they would be able to get back $10.7 million worth of his cap hit. They would be able to recover that much. So like I said, he's basically on a 1-year prove-it deal. And then you have the huge guy, swing tackle Cornelius Lucas from the Bears. Still only 28 years old, good age. He's huge. He's 6'8", the tallest player on our roster right now. Like period, out of everybody, regardless of position. He signed a 2-year deal worth $3.8 million. He received $1 million as a signing bonus and can earn up to $250,000 in per game bonuses in 2020 and up to $510,000 in per game bonuses in 2021. His annual contract is basically a little under $2 million a year, and in 2020 he's a $1.66 million cap hit, and in 2021 he's a $2.1 million cap hit. If cut in 2020, that $1.66 million cap hit will turn into $1 million dead cap, which would only save the Redskins $660,000, so that wouldn't really be worth it. In 2021, if they were to cut him then, his $2.14 million cap hit would turn into $500,000 worth of dead cap, which will save the Redskins $1.64 million. So they're more than likely going to keep him through 2020 because that $660,000 saved doesn't really help much. But in 2021, if he didn't look like he was it in 2020, they can end up only having to take a $500,000 dead cap, and they will save $1.64 million if they were to cut him. So even though he's on a 2-year deal, he's technically on a 1-year prove-it deal. He has to definitely go out there and show a little something in 2020 because it will be more worth it to cut him in 2021 than to keep him if he's not good enough to make the roster. But I'm expecting big things out of him because out of a little over 500 snaps last year for the Bears, he only allowed 12 pressures, 1 sack, and had no penalties. So to me, especially with him being a huge guy and being able to move very well for his size, he's a huge upgrade over Geron Christian. And I think he may even be a little bit better than Ty Nsekhe. We may even want him to start over Morgan Moses depending on how the left tackle position goes. If Trent Williams doesn't come back, we can go sign Jason Peters real quick to be a bridge tackle. But we may even want to start Cornelius Lucas at right tackle. But we'll see though. He can play either position, so that we could start Morgan Moses and have him as basically a slightly better Ty Nsekhe and a way better Geron Christian. So I like this contract design. This is one of our best signings because you don't lose much and you potentially gain a pretty good player at a very important position because it's literally quarterback, edge rusher, left tackle as far as value goes for each position in football. And to possibly have a good left tackle, especially at the age of 28, for less than $2 million worth of cap hit in 2020 is fantastic. And then him as a backup, that's good value even as a backup swing tackle. So I love that signing. Then you have J.D. McKissic, another great signing. He's the Chris Thompson replacement. Shouts out to Chris Thompson for everything you did for us, man. I wish you could have been here for better years, but we appreciate everything you did for us, man. Wish you could have stayed healthy. But J.D. McKissic came over from the Lions. He's only 26 years old. Very shifty, very athletic, ex-wide receiver actually. That's why he's such a great pass-catching running back. He literally used to be a wide receiver. And if you go check out his highlights, he's definitely shifty like a running back. So he's a very good hybrid, and I'm excited to see what Scott Turner's going to do with him. Because with Chris Thompson under Jay Gruden, we primarily used him as a third down back, but we didn't get really creative with them other than screen. But expect Scott Turner to use J.D. McKissic in all kinds of weird ways. Him and Steven Sims. Expect them in sweeps, screens, maybe even some flea flickers. I mean, just random stuff. Expect a very creative, high-powered, fast-paced offense, especially with players like J.D. McKissic. He's basically Chris Thompson with fresher legs and healthy. And we signed him to a 2-year deal worth $3.25 million total, $1 million guaranteed. His annual salary is basically $1.635 million. In 2020, he is only a $1.6 million cap hit. And in 2021, he's a $1.66 million cap hit. So that is a very good signing for the value that he may bring to the team with how minimal amount of space he's taking up on the cap. If cut in 2020, which I highly doubt, because like I said, he's going to basically be the Chris Thompson replacement. He's our best pass catching back on roster right now. Definitely our best route running back too. But if we were to cut him in 2020, he would be a $1 million dead cap, which would only save the Redskins $600,000, so that's not worth it. And in 2021, his dead cap would be $500,000, which would only save the Redskins $1.16 million. So even though that's a little bit more worth it, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure he'll end up being here for the rest of his his career, unless there's a regime change, which I highly doubt. Ron Rivera is going to be here long term. I'm pretty sure J.D. McKissic is about to be the pass catching back for the Redskins long term, barring any unforeseen events like any serious injuries or anything. So even though we got him only on a 2-year deal to kind of see what he has and to see if he can show a little something, with what I've seen from him on film and with how cheap his 2-year deal is for the Redskins, I'm expecting him to be here long term. Like, I'm expecting us to re-sign him after his contract ends in 2021. And it's crazy too, because he's an undrafted free agent. He went to Arkansas State and nobody really wanted him. The Falcons took him. He ended up on the Lions, and that's when he actually started having his best tape and really putting something out there for us to be happy about. And now we have him. Speaking of running back, you also have Payton Barber. To break it down, basically, Darius Geis and Bryce Love will be the premier backs if healthy. They're both 3-down backs and also good pass catching backs. So they're both our highest potential backs. They're both dual threat. So if they're both healthy, they're both going to be the premier backs, getting the most snaps and touches and all of that. But Adrian Peterson is very dependable, very durable, even at this age. Can easily get you 1,000 yards. Is healthy and durable enough to play 16 games a season, but he's not lethal in the passing game. And that's where J.D. McKissic comes in, to where it can basically be Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson again, if Darius Geis and Bryce Love, one or both of them, end up getting hurt again. And then there's Payton Barber, who's basically a little bit of both. Basically diet Darius Geis and Bryce Love. Pretty good pass catching back, not as good as J.D. McKissic, and a pretty good 3-down back, but not as good as Adrian Peterson. So if Darius Geis and Bryce Love were to both get hurt and be out for season, we'd actually be in pretty good hands with the 3-headed monster of Adrian Peterson, Payton Barber, who was actually very productive for the Buccaneers, and then J.D. McKissic as the 3rd-down back. But I highly doubt the Redskins go into the 53-man roster to start the 2020 season with 5 running backs. So if there's anybody that might end up being an odd man out, if everybody's healthy, it might be Payton Barber. But we'll see though, because we signed Payton Barber to a 2-year deal worth $3 million, and $600,000 of it is fully guaranteed and was paid as a signing bonus. His cap hit is $1.36 million this year and $1.64 million next year. But for the Redskins, like I said, if Darius Geis, Bryce Love, Adrian Peterson, and J.D. McKissic are all healthy, I doubt that Payton Barber makes the 53-man roster. So then that would be $600,000 worth of dead cap in 2020, and then the Redskins would be able to recoup $760,000 of Payton Barber's contract as far as dead cap goes. But if he were to somehow make the team in 2020 but were to get cut 2021, he would only be $300,000 worth of dead cap, and he would save the Redskins $1.34 million. So he better go out there and do something, because it wouldn't hurt the Redskins much at all to cut him 2021. And I hope they give him a fair chance in training camp, because like I said, he was very productive for the Buccaneers. He can do a little bit of everything. He can be a 3-down back like Adrian Peterson. He is also good at pass catching like J.D. McKissic, just not as good. He's a better pass catcher than Adrian Peterson, but not as good of a runner. And he's a better runner than J.D. McKissic, but is not as good of a pass catcher. But compared to Darius Geis and Bryce Love, he's really not better than any of them potential-wise at any of those things. So hopefully, as Redskins fans, Darius Geis and Bryce Love are fully healthy this entire season and the rest of their careers, and we're ready to go. But if not, Payton Barber is a pretty good backup option. And then you also have tight end Richard Rodgers, we brought over for the Packers. One of those guys that just hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career. He's 28 years old, 6'4", so he's a good red zone target for Dwayne Haskins if he proves himself well enough to actually make the 53-man roster. Tight end is a big weakness, so it's pretty much open competition, and everybody has a chance to make the 53-man roster as a tight end at this point. I mean, we don't even know the starters yet, not even the depth pieces, so this competition is wide open. So Richard Rodgers has just as good of a chance as anybody else as far as tight ends go. But we only signed him to a 1-year deal worth a little over $1 million, so it's like the very definition of a prove-it deal. I mean, like, if the Redskins were to cut him, it would only be a $136,000 dead cap, and the Redskins would save $750,000. I mean, he's less than $1 million worth of cap hit. He's only $886,000, and if they were to cut him, it would only cost the Redskins $136,000 against the books this year. So unless he's out there looking like something, he's an easy cut for this season. So he better go out there and ball and show something, because out of his $886,000 cap hit, the Redskins can save $750,000 of it by cutting him. So we definitely have to monitor that Richard Rodgers situation because he's an easy cut for the Redskins if he doesn't go out there and produce. And then Nate Orchard, even though he was technically already on the team, we did just recently sign him, so I wanted to talk about him too. He's technically a 3-4 outside linebacker. I'm assuming he's just going to add more weight and just be a defensive end in the 4-3. That makes more sense than him playing 4-3 outside linebacker. Maybe the Sam, maybe, but I feel like he's definitely better suited as defensive end. Hopefully, if we take Chase Young, it will be Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, Nate Orchard, and Jordan Brailford. That's great depth. I mean, Nate Orchard showed a little something that one game where Montez Sweat, Ryan Anderson, and Ryan Kerrigan were all hurt. Actually, I think Ryan Anderson got ejected or something like that, but either way, all three of those people were missing. So Nate Orchard had to step up to the plate, and he balled out. Had himself a sack and a fumble recovery and a couple of good tackles. I believe it was against the Panthers too, the game they got Ron Rivera fired. So Nate Orchard contributed to Ron Rivera getting fired, and Ron Rivera thanked him by bringing him over to his new team, the Washington Redskins. But we signed Nate Orchard to a 1-year super prove-it deal worth $1.0475 million. And he only got $137,500 worth of signing bonus. And just like the previous guy, Richard Rodgers, the tight end, Nate Orchard is less than a $900,000 cap hit this year. And his dead cap, if they were to cut him, would be $137,500. So out of that less than $900,000 cap hit that he's hitting the Redskins for in 2020, they can get $750,000 of it back if they were to just cut him. So he super has to go out there and prove something, because he's another person that it's easy to just go ahead and cut him and not allow him to make the 53-man roster, because they get like a little over 80% of the money back that he would cost anyway if they were to just cut him. He would only be a $137,500 cap hit. That's no money in the NFL. His dead money is literally only his signing bonus, which is a small amount. I mean, that's a lot for us, especially for me. $137,000 is crazy, but as far as NFL goes, that's very little. That's minuscule. So Nate Orchard, I'm rooting for you, man. I liked what I saw out of you near the end of the season in 2019, and I'm expecting big things out of you. I hope you take advantage of the opportunity that you have. I know with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Ryan Kerrigan, you and Jordan Brailford, it's kind of a crowded room, but if the Redskins take 4 of them, you're really only competing against Jordan Brailford, who was on IR all last season. And both of y'all have a lot of potential, so it's between the two of y'all to see who's going to get it. Maybe the Redskins might take 5 edge rushers, but I doubt it. More than likely 4. And this whole Ryan Kerrigan situation is interesting because he hasn't been restructured, and I highly doubt the Redskins are willing to pay him $11.7 million against the cap to be a backup edge rusher. So I'm pretty sure they're going to restructure him and get rid of him in some way. Either way, I highly doubt Ryan Kerrigan is about to play on this almost $12 million cap hit that he is this year. So there's a possibility that Nate Orchard might not even be competing against Jordan Brailford. There might be Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jordan Brailford, and Nate Orchard if Ryan Kerrigan isn't here. We'll see though. I believe Ryan Kerrigan will end up staying here and they will restructure his contract. It's just a matter of when, but it is really weird they haven't done it yet. And then lastly, Brandon Scherff, because that technically counts. He signed his franchise tag, so he's a $15 million cap hit, and all of it's guaranteed. That's how franchise tags work. The Redskins have until mid-July to sign him to a long-term contract, but if they don't, then he'll be forced to play the franchise tag throughout this season, and then he'll just be an unrestricted free agent again come 2021. And then the Redskins can choose to franchise tag him or transition tag him if they want, but hopefully they get a long-term extension done before mid-July. This coronavirus is messing up a lot of stuff because Ron Rivera doesn't want to talk money or contracts with really anybody unless he can get them in the building and let them prove themselves. Even people like Trent Williams, Quentin Dunbar, who we shipped away, and Brandon Scherff. Guys that are clearly really good when healthy, but Ron Rivera is not just handing out money for no reason. So hopefully if this coronavirus quarantine and all this pandemic ends soon, Brandon Scherff and Ron Rivera can be in the same building, and Brandon Scherff can show Ron Rivera what he can do, where he's at physically and everything, and then Ron Rivera will be more willing to talk long-term extension and all of that. But for now, Brandon Scherff is a $15 million cap hit, all guaranteed. Also, for those of y'all who's wondering about Reuben Foster's contract, even though it doesn't have anything to do with the 2020 free agents, in 2020, he's going to be nearly a $1.7 million cap hit, and he would be no dead money if we were to cut him. They would get all of that money back if they were to cut him. So if come 53-man roster decision time, if he's not healthy enough to play, especially with this crowded linebacker group, the Redskins may just cut him. If he's not ready to go, or at least looks like he may be close, and we can just keep him on roster until he is healthy and he'll play at some point in 2020 season. If he doesn't look good in any way, they can just cut him and get all of that almost $1.7 million back. And he'll be no cap hit at all. No dead cap, no anything. He'll come completely off the book. So there's no loss for the Redskins if they were to cut him. Even if they just wanted to cut him today for no reason. So by them not cutting him yet, you can tell that the Redskins want to at least give him a chance. Which is good news for Redskins fans as far as how Ron Rivera feels about him. Because they might as well cut him now if they don't think he's going to be healthy. So that's a good sign, and it means he should be healthy, or very possibly could be at least, by the fact that they're keeping him. Because if he doesn't work out, they can cut him and lose no money, absolutely no dead cap. But now let's talk about the entire cap space and how everybody fits into it. Like real quick, I just want to talk about the percentage that everybody's taking up that we just signed. Brandon Scherff with his $15 million cap hit is taking up 7.19% of the cap space all by himself. And of course, like I talked about with Ryan Kerrigan earlier, he's almost an $11.7 million cap hit so far without a restructure. And he's taking up 5.59% of the cap space by himself, as possibly a depth rotational player. So that's definitely a no-no. And another thing they point out with Ryan Kerrigan, he would be no dead cap if released. So the Redskins would get all of that $11,687,500 back. All of it. No dead cap at all. So there's literally no reason to keep Ryan Kerrigan on the roster if you don't believe he'll go out there and perform for you. And I feel like there's no point of having him on the roster if you're not going to restructure his contract and make it cheaper. $11.7 million, especially with Chase Young on the team, is very pointless. I know I want to see him retire as a Redskin. I know he's close to breaking the sack record, but I'm sorry, I'm too logical. Him hitting us for that much cap space to be a depth rotational piece makes no sense, and he gotta go if they can't restructure his contract, especially if we take Chase Young. Then you have Kendall Fuller, who's a $4.125 million cap hit. He's taking up 1.97% of the cap space by himself. Shawn Davis is a $3.5 million cap hit. He's taking up 1.69% of the cap space. Pierre-Lewis is nearly a $3 million cap hit this season, taking up 1.41% of the cap space. Tight end Logan Thomas is a $2.5 million cap hit, taking up 1.21% of the cap space. Didn't talk about Jon Bostic, but he's a $2.2 million cap hit, and he's taking up 1.05% of the cap space. Reuben Foster, with his $1.7 million cap hit, he's taking up less than 1% of the cap space, 0.81. Swing tackle Cornelius Lucas, great value, less than a $1.7 million cap hit, only taking up 0.79% of the cap space. Same thing with J.D. McKissic, great value, only a $1.6 million cap hit, taking up 0.77% of the cap space. Payton Barber, another good signing, $1.36 million cap hit, 0.65% of the cap space. I mean, these guys are literally a percentage of the percentage. You have Nate Orchard, who I'm rooting for, less than $1 million cap hit, only taking up 0.42% of the cap space. Richard Rodgers is the same thing, less than $1 million worth of cap hit, less than $900,000 actually, only 0.42% of the cap space. Sorry I missed Wes Schweitzer. He's a $2.5 million cap hit, taking up 1.18% of the cap space. And I also missed Thomas Davis, who's a $3.5 million cap hit, taking up 1.67% of the cap space. And that's basically it, because Ronald Darby's contract details haven't come out yet, so he hasn't counted against the cap just yet. We don't know exactly how much. It more than likely will be for $4 million. But excluding Ronald Darby, with all of the 2020 free agents that we signed, including the ones that we brought back like Nate Orchard, Jon Bostic, those guys, the Redskins currently have $26,840,551 worth of cap space. And we do have some players taking up some dead cap, boy. We do have some dead cap on our hand, because Paul Richardson is hitting us for $6 million worth of dead cap. He's 2.8% of our cap space in 2020. He's not even on the team. I mean, he's literally as much of a cap hit as Matt Ioannidis. He's more of a cap hit in 2020 than Kendall Fuller, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Shawn Davis, Thomas Davis, Dustin Hopkins, Dwayne Haskins, Adrian Peterson, Montez Sweat, Fabian Moreau, Jon Bostic, Jeremy Sprinkle, Chase Roulier, Reuben Foster, Ryan Anderson. I mean, basically all but 7 people that are currently on the roster. So that's crazy. Paul Richardson is going to be making more money from the Redskins than all but 7 players on the Redskins. The only people he's not more of a cap hit than is Alex Smith, Brandon Scherff, Trent Williams, Landon Collins, Ryan Kerrigan, and Morgan Moses. And he's the same amount as Matt Ioannidis. That is ridiculous. Then you have Josh Norman, who's a $3 million cap hit. He's taking up 1.43% of the Redskins 2020 cap space. Then you have Jordan Reed, who's a $1.8 million cap hit, taking up 0.86% of the Redskins cap with his dead cap. Quentin Dunbar is a $1 million cap hit, so that's not that bad, only taking up 0.48%. Samaje Perine is still somehow dead cap. He has $164,947 worth of dead cap, only 0.08% of dead cap, and everybody else is even less. I mean, Monte Nicholson is only a little over $150,000 worth of dead cap. Adonis Alexander, $78,000. JoJo McIntosh is $10,000. Brian Blunt is $10,000. Todd Ramming is a little under $7,000. And Ryan B is a little over $3,000. And they're literally less than 0.01%. So they don't affect the cap space at all. Their dead cap, it's calculated because it's necessary, but it doesn't really mean much. But here's where things get interesting. And this is something I definitely wanted to talk to y'all about. How the cap space will look like after the draft. Because players who get drafted number 2 overall, first round, second pick, which I'm assuming we'll end up taking Chase Young at and not trading back. Chase Young will be a $6 million, $987,000 cap hit for the Redskins in 2020. Our third round pick, 66th overall, will be an $805,000 cap hit. Our fourth round pick, 108th overall, will be a $715,000 cap hit. And it just keeps going down and down from there. Round 4, pick 142 overall, $670,000 cap hit. Round 5, pick 162, $590,000 cap hit. Round 7, pick 216, $538,000 cap hit. Round 7, pick 229, $535,000 cap hit. So nobody in this draft will potentially make even $1 million, will even be $1 million worth of cap hit individually for the Redskins in 2020, except for potentially Chase Young if we take him number 2 overall. He will almost be a $6.4 million cap hit. Everybody else we draft will be less than $1 million worth of a cap hit in 2020. So assuming that we'll actually take players with each of those picks, hypothetically, and we won't make any trades or anything, then our rookie class of 2020 will in total be a $10 million, $212,018 cap hit for the Redskins, which will take our $26,840,000 cap space down to $16,628,000 cap space. So right now the Redskins are top 10 in cap space. And after the draft, they should remain top 10 because, I mean, everybody has to pick people, but we'll see how it goes. But right now, with how the cap spaces are ranked and how they've calculated cap space, the Redskins have $27,758,000 worth of cap space, which is like a little over $1 million of what we actually have when it's actually broken down. But with that $27,758,000 worth of cap space, we are 7th in the league. But we are projected to have the 3rd most cap space for 2021, so I'm excited to see how we splurge in free agency then. Right now, with all of these prove-it deals, like I've talked about in previous videos, it looks like 2020 will be a trial run, a big audition for everybody. In 2021, when we'll have plenty of more draft picks, top 3 cap space in the NFL, that seems like the year we'll actually suit up and boot up and actually go for a real run at the playoffs and the Super Bowl. 2020 is going to be more so a trial run, see who really wants to be here, see whose potential can actually be reached and all of that. But 2021 will actually be time to win. It's just crazy that Alex Smith is our biggest cap hit by far. I mean, he's taking up 10.23% of our cap space. He's a $21,400,000 cap hit this year and not going to play, which is crazy. The only guy even kind of close to him is Brandon Scherff, who's a whole $6 million away in cap hit. So that's just ridiculous. I can't wait to get Alex Smith off the books, man. That's why we're going to have top 3 cap space in 2020, once we finally are able to get rid of Alex Smith. I appreciate everything he's done, and I hope we bring him back as some type of coach, like a QB's coach or something. But as a player, you gotta go, bro. You're taking up too much space on the cap. Same thing with Ryan Kerrigan. You need to restructure your contract. I don't know why that hasn't gotten done yet. But yeah, man, thanks for the view. If you liked the video, if you learned anything, please hit that like button. Please subscribe for more content. I'm bringing y'all endless content through the quarantine. I have so many video ideas. It just takes time to do the research and record it and edit it and get it out to y'all. But I have so many videos back to back that I have planned. I just gotta get them out to y'all. So make sure y'all subscribe and stay tuned for those. And again, I appreciate the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.